Hey guys, let's talk about parts of the firearm, specifically the handgun today. I'm going to list the 4 firearm safety rules on the screen here, but I also have a detailed video on those and a proper clearing procedure. So go watch that if you haven't already done so. If you're getting into gun ownership and shooting, it's important to know the basic parts of your firearm and what some of those parts do. Now, this is not a detailed description on how the firearm functions, but you will at least be able to identify these parts when asked about them and not look like a total noob in front of your friends. So, let's get started.
Alright guys, so if we're looking at the firearm from an external view, we can kind of break it down into 2 halves. We've got our slide up top, and then we have our frame down bottom. Now this entire metal piece sitting on top of the frame is what we call our slide. If you'll take a look here, cut into the slide are these serrations. Now, although these do provide like an aesthetic look to the slide, those serrations actually serve a purpose. They can be used to help you get traction when manipulating the slide to rack it or press check. On the top of the slide, you'll notice 2 sights here. We have this rear sight and we have the front sight. These are what are most often commonly called iron sights. We're going to talk about how to use these in a later video. Now, if you notice, this handgun has an optic mounted onto the slide. Many handguns now come with the slide already cut to be able to mount an optic. Now, if you'll look up front here, this is what we'll call our Picatinny rail. On the rail you can mount things like lights and lasers. Typically lights are going to be mounted up front here. Now, the slide function in simplest terms is to eject a spent casing and get a new round into the barrel. So from there, we can move on to our frame. The frame contains the trigger assembly, mag release, and slide stop. If we go ahead and take that overall view again here of our frame, you can see our grip here. Typically when we talk about our grip, we will go ahead and break this down a little bit further into this backstrap piece, as well as what we call our beaver tail right here. Typically on your handguns that come to you nowadays, they're going to have multiple backstrap pieces in here, so you can make this larger or smaller depending on your hand size. You can see this one just has a small roll pin. You punch that out, and then this will slide off, and you can change that here. Now, this beaver tail is this ledge here, protruding from the backstrap of the gun just beneath the slide. It is also called the tang. Don't ask me where somebody got that name. I don't really use it a lot. We are not going to go into this piece very far today, but know that it is extremely important when talking about your grip. So when I start covering some grip principles, you will want to know about this very, very much. If we move up front here, this piece that's surrounding our trigger is actually called our trigger guard. And exactly like the name suggests, it guards the trigger. Its sole intention is to keep unwanted contact with the trigger, helping to prevent a negligent discharge. Here on the side panel of the grip frame is our mag release. By depressing this button, you can release the magazine once it's empty, or to even check how many rounds you have left inside a magazine. It's important to know that in case you're left-handed, this button is reversible, like mine is here, since I'm wrong-handed, as people like to point out to me. Or you can even adjust it so that it is larger or smaller with some brands and models. There you go. So I always switch out mine on every handgun that I have, just so that it's easier for me to reach it. Alright, now if you'll take a look at this lever here, this is going to be our slide stop or lock or release. A lot of people call it a lot of different things. This mechanism is engaged after the last round is fired from your magazine, causing the slide to lock back in place, letting you know you need to reload. And this is another one. I'll go into talking about it more when we start talking about basic manipulations and functions and disassembly of the firearm. Also, if you'll notice on this one is also ambidextrous. Many of your firearms that you'll buy nowadays come this way as well. The last thing that we're going to look at here on the outside of the frame are these takedown catches. If you'll notice, there's one on both sides. Now, This is not because these are ambidextrous, but it's because it's specific to how this gun is broken down. Most guns are going to have some form of this and typically a specific procedure to disassemble the firearm as well. Don't worry, your firearm should come with a manual in the case that will tell you how to correctly disassemble it. If there is something you don't understand from the manual, there is almost surely a YouTube video out there on how to do it. So don't freak out, guys. So I'm going to get this firearm disassembled, and I'm going to show you a couple parts on the inside that you'll need to know for cleaning. If you want to know more about the inner working parts of your firearm, there are diagrams and videos online for this as well. Alright, so here we go. I've got this handgun broken down. As you can see here, this is going to be your recoil spring assembly. This is specific to your gun and essential to making sure it works properly. We're going to cover this a little bit more when we break it down and clean it, but just know that, as its name suggests, it's important to how the gun recoils. The last thing that we'll take a look at here is our barrel. Obviously, this is where the projectile of the bullet is sent out of the gun. Okay guys, I hope this video helps, and next time you're out at the range you can look really cool in front of all your friends. Anyways, like and subscribe and do all that stuff, because I guess it'll make me want to do more videos or something. I don't know. So have fun and be safe.